See, I don't recommend, but hello, John, are you there? John Gregory,
good morning,
welcome.
How are you?
Good morning, mate. How are you?
I'm great, thank you very much.
Yes, nice little picture of you on Twitter, John, with your array of guitars as your profile picture.
Yes,
I can see a couple of Fender Stratocasters. There's a 12-string.
Yeah, there's a couple in there. There's a few bits in there. Yeah, with
bass.
I got a bit carried away from time to time buying guitars, and you can never play them all at the same time. But no, it makes a nice picture.
It's a lovely picture, and I can tell they're expensive because you've got no shoes and socks on. So I'd imagine they cost a few quid. We were thinking of dragging you down to London, but it's Christmas, New Year, and it's radio.
Exactly.
No one will know. Let's just pretend you're in the studio.
Okay, I'm in the studio. It's lovely here in the studio.
Yeah, you can take your shoes and socks off here as well.
The coffee's pretty good as well.
Should we start with Villa?
Yes, of course.
At home to Leeds tonight. Now, you played for
Yes.
the club during the 70s, went on to manage the club, 98
Yeah.
to 2002. The Cup final, 2000. Villa got there, you took them there. So what do you think of Villa now and the job Steve Bruce is doing?
Steve Bruce is doing a fantastic job, and there was a lot of sceptical people, I think, and I was one of them, employing a Birmingham City manager or former Birmingham City manager. And we did it once before, if you remember. Big Alex had a terrible time whilst he was at Villa, and Steve went in there, and I think there was a few people that were expecting him to have a bit of a tough time with the fans, but he's got the results, and ultimately, I don't think anybody really cares who's in charge of Aston Villa, providing they're winning. And Steve's won over the supporters, and he certainly won over me, and he, more than anybody, has got the club winning matches again. It's been an unbelievable time, Des. The last 5 or 6 years has just been one big mess there. We've been appointing managers one after the other that have fallen flat on their face, and Steve's come in, and he's got us a bit of credibility back. It's a shame that we're in the Championship, but nevertheless, I'm sure that you've seen the results since Steve's taken over, and he's done a fantastic job. And Villa are on the march again. And it's nice to be associated with Villa when they're winning.
You put it rather succinctly on Twitter. You said Steve Bruce has done more for Villa in 5 games than Lerner, Fox, Faulkner and the other shower of bleeps, I can't use that word obviously, did in 10 years. So
yes.
That's pretty much summed it up.
Totally. I mean, I would have to sort of omit the first couple of years of Lerner's chairmanship there, when obviously Martin O'Neill was in charge, and Martin was winning some football matches and doing very well for the club in that respect, finishing in the top 6 in the Premier League. But since then it's just been downhill, and certainly a lot of that, in my opinion, rests with the chief executives. Faulkner and Fox just kept appointing very poor managers. The manager, to me, is the most important person in the football club. If you've got a good manager and he's doing a good job for you, hang on to him, because he is so important. I think Steve Bruce has proved, since he's gone into Villa, that if you appoint the right man, everything else will fall into place. And we kept appointing. I mean, we brought in all these other managers are great blokes and nice people, but you bring in Remy Gard in a relegation battle at that particular time. I mean, he's not the sort of guy that you bring into this kind of situation. We could have got Tony Pulis. Tony Pulis was available at one stage, and Tony would have been a great appointment, and he would have kept us in the Premier League. But, unfortunately now Villa find themselves in the Championship, but we've got a guy in charge who could still get this team up into automatic promotion place. There's still a long, long way to go. So there's another 23 games there. We're only halfway.
That's right. In the current form, and certainly in the last 10 games, they're suddenly one of the best 6 clubs in the division when they were stranded down at the foot of the table near enough. He's taken 20 points out of the last 30, Steve Bruce.
It's incredible. It's incredible what he's done, and it's basically with the same players, and this is what I say, he is by far the most important person in the football club. If you make the right appointment, you've always got a chance. And he's in charge of the dressing room. I don't think the dressing room has belonged to the manager for quite a long time at Villa. I think the players have been running that football club But Steve Bruce is in charge of the dressing room. He's in charge of the training ground. He's in charge of coaching. People do what Steve Bruce tells them to do. You know, they had a bad result a couple of weeks ago, and then they went to Queen's Park Rangers. And Steve made 6 changes on the day. He dropped 6 players. And it had the effect. They won 1-0. And obviously they beat Burton at home again the other day. And they face Leeds United tonight, which is going to be a fantastic game. It's going to be a sellout, mate. It's going to be packed again.
Absolutely right. I've got Jim White at the Telegraph and Danny Murphy here as well. Go ahead, Danny.
Morning, John.
Good morning, Dan. How are you, mate?
I'm all right, thank you. I was involved at Fulham when they were looking at managers for a while. It was an interesting process. I think the thing with Steve Bruce, obviously he's been there and done it, which is half the battle. But do you think he must have asked and spoken to them about the recruitment side? Because if and when he gets them up, it's massively important that they invest in the right players, because so many times now we're hearing about coaches and managers not having enough of a say. You know, normally after they leave they have a moan about it, but times have changed, haven't they? You're saying the manager is the most important. He is, I agree, but only if he's got a say in the squad he can build and develop. I would imagine at Villa, Steve must have got some reassurances regarding that moving forward.
Yes, I would think that's been part of the remit when he came in. I'm sure that he asked those exact same questions, Dan, that, you know, he would have total control on recruitment side. That's not been the case in the past, and I think... you know, I can defend one or two of the managers that were in charge of Aston Villa. They didn't have full control over recruitment. The recruitment department was a disaster.
Was it?
They were bringing in players, and you know, we had Tom Fox in charge, as the chief executive, who was guided really by his recruitment department. And as you can see, they brought in player after player, spending huge amounts of money, and hoping that one day they might recoup the money by being able to sell them on. I mean, Christian Benteke was an exception. They paid £7 million for him and sold him for 32. He was an exception, but he was just a one-off. Other than that, really, the recruitment side has been a disaster. But Steve sorted that side out, and I think I know for a fact that Steve's had a huge input in the people that have come into the recruitment department. Obviously, Stephen Round has come in as head of recruitment. And I know also the likes of Tony Coton is involved there. A mate of mine, Richard Hill, is involved now. And it's all been authorised by Steve Bruce. Steve Bruce knows these people. He's bringing in people that think like him. And I think Steve's been able to dictate to the scouting department the kind of people that he wants in there. Now, he doesn't necessarily want the finished article. He wants people that are going to come in the Championship and have the ability to get Aston Villa out of the Championship. And if they're successful in that department, I think you'll find that then they'll turn their attention to much bigger players, much better quality players that are going to make sure that we have an input into the Premier League. But at the moment, that side of it, I think, is being handled very well. And I'm sure that Steve will have total control in that department, Dan.
John, it's Jim White here. You were saying that the manager's the most important member of staff. But the problem at Villa has been for so long the kind of cloud hanging over the club that the owner didn't want to own them any longer and was trying to get out. That surely has made a big difference to the vibe around the place, hasn't it? That you're now looking towards ownership who actually want to promote the club rather than just get it off their hands.
Yeah, I mean, with the new owners coming in, it would appear that he's seen what's happened before. I think Tony has seen what's gone on before. He's seen that, you know, Randy Lerner came in, invested a lot of money into the football club, spent a hell of a lot of money, lost a lot of money in doing so, had the right intentions initially, but obviously wasn't doing particularly well over the last 3 or 4 seasons, to say the least. But I think Tony's come in and realised what the club's all about. He spends a lot of time at Villa Park, you know, whereas Randy Lerner came sometimes once a year, if that. It didn't quite get the feel, and I think Tony's on Twitter as well. You know, he liaises with fans, he keeps in touch with fans. He knows what Aston Villa is all about, and I think he's got a really deep understanding of Aston Villa, its traditions, where it really belongs, and he is working exceptionally hard trying to get them back there. And I think in appointing Steve Bruce, I think it's made him realise that this guy could actually get Aston Villa back into the Premiership, which in turn would raise Tony's profile as well. So it's a much healthier football club now. I think there was over 41,000 there against Burton the other day, which was a tremendous achievement by all the fans turning up to support their team. And if it can continue in this respect, Jim, I think the chairman will be one of the happiest people around. But certainly, no, I just want to make that point about having the right manager in place. It is so very, very important. Bob Bradley, unfortunately, was not the right person at Swansea. He wasn't the right guy to go into that football club. It's not his fault. It's the people that appointed him. And that's been the same at Aston Villa. They've appointed a list of managers, very well-known managers, that were probably not the right people at that particular time. But Steve Bruce certainly is the right person at this time.
And that is the perfect way to end your summation of the Aston Villa situation. John, thank you for joining us. Happy New Year.
And the same to you, Des.
Good to talk to you,
Cheers, John.
mate.
Thanks.
Cheers, boys. Have a good day.
Cheers, John. Thank you very much. John Gregory, top guest.